Hello, this is Thomas Schieffer presenting Stressed Out, the roadmap of stress. So to give a little context of what I'm going into is I'm basing this off of traditional Chinese medicine. So traditional Chinese medicine is somewhere around a 5,000-year-old tradition where people went through and time tested each of the herbs and formulas and methods they applied, which are relating to the world around us, to nature. What I'm going to speak to in this talk is all about traditional Chinese medicine, its interpretation of being stressed out, and the Western paradigm of what we're used to, the allopathic method. So to give a little context here, I am actually a former military contractor. I was an aerospace engineer and flight mechanic on Black Hawks. So I spent almost 3 years approximately in the Middle East, going back and forth doing jobs there. From that situation, actually, this is where I got my talk, because after almost 10 years of being in the company, I decided to leave a six-figure job because of stress, because I was living a life that wasn't healthy at all. And I went and searched for Chinese medicine to understand why was I not be able to handle all that stress and live a life that I could enjoy and thrive in? So I wanted to start contextualizing what is stress from a Western and Eastern point of view, to give you an idea. So the Western understanding. So let's look and see what all our dictionaries have to say about this. Stress, long-term stress, leads to severe health problems. So chronic stress disrupts nearly every system in the body. It raises blood pressure, it affects the heart, causing heart attacks and stress, it fatigues the immune system, and you age more quickly. This is from WebMD. So it hits all the major parts of your body. Stress just vibrates and riddles through your body and your thoughts and emotions. So let's look a little bit deeper to understand what stress is. So I looked in the Webster Dictionary. A body mental tension from factors that alter the existing equilibrium. So I wanted to dig a little deeper into it. So stresses affect your equilibrium. So what is equilibrium? Equilibrium is a balance between opposing forces, either static or dynamic. So this leads me to this next slide, Newton's first law. So an object at rest will stay at rest unless an external force acts upon it, or an object will stay in motion unless an external force acts upon that. So in that theory, stress equals life, because life is stressful, because in the process of living, we are causing stress on our minds and our bodies. So it's like, how do we deal with this? How do we deal with the fact that life is stressful and it has many opportunities for us to be stressful and stressed out? So what takes me to this amazing study they did in Harvard, where they had over 6,000 people, between men and women, and it was over 20 years. So this is a pretty extensive study on stress, and they studied mental health and also heart disease, because stress dramatically affects the heart. What they found out is that stress can be healthy or unhealthy, and it all depends on your perception of the stress. So that's a pretty huge idea of what stress really means. So it could be healthy or unhealthy. So we have a choice. We have a choice to how we relate to that stress, whatever comes up. So just give, for instance, that someone pulls out in front of you in a car and you just blow up. You're angry at them, you're swearing at them, you're throwing a finger, whatever you're doing. And then you hold on to it. Then you start telling all your friends. Or you have an option. They pull in front of you, you get aggravated, you go around them, whatever thing you need to do so you don't hit the person, and you move on. So there's two relationships you have to stress. How do you want to hold it or carry it? Or how do you want to let go of it? So here's the next slide, is actually a slide of what they call BUDS training. So this is the last week of a Navy SEAL training where there's a whole bunch of guys. They're all huddled together, they're tired, they're exhausted, they're hungry, they want to sleep like there's no tomorrow. But what you see is there's a guy in the front and some guys in the back that have these smiles on their face. And those people who have the smiles on their face are the ones who are going to make it, because they're taking a very stressful situation and they're changing to something that they see is going to benefit them. So it's not the fact that they don't have stress in their life, it's the fact that they are doing something they love so much that they're actually feeling better and gaining a sense of self from it, a better sense of joy and excitement in life, because they're psyched to be in that situation. So let's look at stress in our nervous system. On the left, he's in the parasympathetic nervous system, and on the right, he's on the sympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. So what we do in fight or flight? Basically, it was designed when we were running from Bengal tigers. So we had to get out of the way of something perceived that was going to kill us. So our body should slow down our digestion. It ramped up our heart, our lungs, our cognitive function, so our brains were upgraded so we could be alert and aware of what's happening around the situations around us, and put all the energy into the muscles and allowed us to get out of that situation or fight that situation. So we're going to take it down. That's what happens when we're working a lot with the modern day stress, is we go into this sympathetic nervous system quite a bit in situations where we're not really life-threatening. And that will fatigue the system. We'll get a little bit further into that later. And then the parasympathetic nervous system, where that's every day. We're under normal stress, where we're just driving around, spending time with family. Our digestion's working well, our lungs are at normal capacity, our heart rate's slow, and it's right at where it needs to be, and we're just enjoying life. So let's look at stress and how we were designed, genetically evolved with the stress around us. So this first slide is caveman running from the Bengal tiger. We went into a sympathetic nervous system, and this is where our body ramps all of our energy up, just like I explained just a little while ago. This is where we need all available energy to get away or fight the situation at hand. And it's very relevant, but it only should be used in short durations. Any long-term use will fatigue our system. So it's very effective in short-term use. Where we go to his brother, the caveman with the club, this is when we're just walking around. He still has stressors because he has a possibility that he's going to be attacked, but he's not stressed about it. He's just cruising around, so what is he doing? He's looking at clouds passing by. He's watching caveman TV or fire, and he's just cruising through the woods, seeing trees, plants. It's really not too dramatic. It's pretty simple life. He just has to look for something to eat, berries or some sort of animal, the club, I don't know, whatever they did back then. And then we go into modern day society. So what does stress look like in our society? So we have changed this from hunter-gatherer to what we are now in a very short period of time of evolution. So our nervous system's still running in the past. So what do we have? We have this. We have bills, taxes, paperwork. We have our job. We have family obligations, a husband or wife. We have kids. We have grandparents. We have parents. And we have to make the moolah, the cash, to supply all the toys we want and the necessities, like a car. We need a car to get around. We have a house and an apartment, place to pay for, to stay, to live. And what it does is it creates this neural pathways of how we start relating to stress. and they keep firing off. And what I mentioned before is that we go into a sympathetic nervous system because we perceive that all of the things that we need to take care of are going to disappear. So they're threatening our life. So we're constantly firing off our synapses lobes and our neural pathways, and we're staying in this fight or flight, which eventually lets us go into exhaustion. We're exhausted, we're working too much, and we keep going and going and going, and we feel this exhaustion, but we ignore it. And then eventually, what happens, it fatigues our immune system, and then we end up getting burnt out. Let's look at it from an Eastern understanding. To put a little context here, organs in Chinese medicine, because I'm going to start about organ system, relating to Chinese medicine, is related to functions in the body, not the organs themselves. So stress equals liver stagnation in Chinese medicine. So remember, liver I'm talking about is functions in the body. So liver is in charge of handling perceived obstacles. And there's a reason why I put perceived obstacles in red there, is because it's our perception of those obstacles. So there's 3 ways the liver deals with obstacles or perceived obstacles. The first one is like this guy hitting the wall. We could just keep ramming that situation ahead. Like I talked to before, is that person who cut us off. And we swore at him, we threw him a finger, we got really aggravated. And then we also carried it with us for the rest of the day, maybe even the week. We just couldn't stop talking about it to all our friends and family. That's when we keep hitting the wall over and over and over and over. The other way is to just bury our head in the sand. So it still affects us, but we don't see it. We don't acknowledge it. We just internalize it, and we just try to ignore it as much as possible, but it's really affecting us. We're in complete denial. And last but not least, the third way is we could just hurdle right over it. We could just go through it. It aggravates us at the moment. We may be angry or pissed off or whatever situation, thoughts, emotions come up, and then we just move on. And that's it. Situation done. We're on to the next. And what it does, it gives us joy because we don't let situations or obstacles affect us. So how to work with stress? Let's dive a little further into this. The first and biggest one is what I've been talking about is attitude. Are you optimistic or pessimistic about the situation? Do you carry it with you, or do you let it go and move on and address the situation at hand? Because this is a key part. You are not your thoughts and emotions, and it's a pretty important part. So, but you are how you relate to them. So, you have discernment now. So you may have a thought and feeling pop up. That's good. Now you have an ability to act a certain way. So you have discernment whether your thoughts, feelings, and how you relate to them. And the reason you have those thoughts and feelings initially are from your past. So they're not really who you are in the moment. So what happens is there's neural pathways that keep connecting on certain patterns of thoughts. So every time a situation comes up, it's going to be automatic. But it's your discernment and how you relate to those situations that's so important. So now you could actually address what really happens in the situation, not what you knew from the past and what you related to from the past. So it's your choice of how you want to relate to it, because life is messy and it's okay to mess up. I mean, this is the interesting part about life, is that it is messy and it is interesting, and we keep getting up and doing it the way we think we want to do it. The second part, community. I had a teacher talk to me one time, and I've worked as an engineer in all these technical jobs, and I figured I could figure a lot of things out. And what I've learned is community is huge. If you could do it yourself, you would have done it by now. And it's a very important thing, is how do you approach this life? And if you can't, from a certain point of view, turn to your community. That's why they're there. We're social creatures. It's huge to have a community that supports who you want to be and where you want to go. So it's essential to have community in your life. Laughter. I mean, that's the key when you really know you got it, when you're not your thoughts and feelings, when you're in that stressful situation that really bothered you, and for some reason you change that angry, disgruntled person and you start laughing about it. You start changing your outlook on how you want to see that situation. And you laugh about it because you know you've been doing this every time that situation comes up. You have that same thoughts and feelings. You get pissed off or you get sad or whatever situation comes up. But you start laughing and enjoy it, and it moves that, what I talked about, liver stagnation, moves that energy and allows the body to release its stagnation. Here's another good video of, I think it says, laughter is an instant vacation. It is, because it releases all that body tension, mental tension, and allows you to really see what life is at this moment, because you're not holding on to your concepts, your thoughts, your feelings. You're moving through them, and that's what life is about. The other part, too, is I call them 3 pillars of health. In the 3 pillars of health, you'll have a hard time relating to those thoughts and feelings, and you get swept away with them if you don't have a good diet, your exercise, and your sleep are well within a balance. It's not about perfection with those, but it's essential just to have a certain amount of that honed down, so when you approach life, that you could actually handle it because your body's relaxed to begin with. So in a difficult situation, let's say maybe a family outing, provides plenty of opportunities for stressful situations. But if you're exhausted because you've been working too much, you haven't been exercising, and you've been eating junk food and overdosing on coffee for the past week, and then you go into a family situation, what chance do you have to work with that family? It's really difficult. So stack the odds in your favor. Stack the odds in your favor by putting the 3 pillars of health in your life. So let's get into the first part, diet. Why is diet important? We need all of our vitamins, minerals, dark leafy greens, protein, fat, complex carbohydrates. And if we don't get that, it doesn't allow us to digest our life, our nutrients. It allows us to take in all that information from work, from all the other aspects of our life, and like I explained, our family situation that we're going to get into, allows our body to process and to detoxify itself, because a nourished body will detoxify itself. And if we don't have that nourishment, we don't have that detoxification. We don't have that ability to relate to the situations around us. So diet's huge. What we take in and how we work with the food that we have, where are we getting it from. So exercise. Exercise is an important part of the 3 pillars of health. The reason is it allows our body to digest, like our food, all the information that comes in. It allows our body to move, to keep the stagnation, that liver stagnation that I was talking about earlier, to keep moving. There's a study that they have that says stress decreases by 60% by just going for, say, 10-minute, 5-minute walk. Just moving your arms, your legs. It's getting out and doing a simple walk where we decrease your stress by 60%. And that is huge. I mean, if they had a pharmaceutical that had that same studies, it would be flying off the shelves. And we have this available right with us. We don't need anything else. So when you're in those stressful situations, say you're in that family event, go out for a small walk. It's huge. It'll completely change your body tension and your mind state. And it's a good opportunity just to put the reset button on. Or maybe that instant vacation from your vacation. The next is sleep. Do you get 8 hours of sleep? They had a study and they put people in a sleep tank, and they found out 8 hours is the approximate time. There's always exceptions to the rules, but 8 hours is important. And the reason it's so important is because it allows our body to go in and our mind to shut off. So we're shutting off all those neural pathways and allowing the body to actually heal itself. So it's a time that the liver swells, all the blood is reoxygenated, and our body starts repairing itself. So if we cut out that time of repair, we're going to have more fatigue. More fatigue means more grumpiness, more stagnation. So sleep's essential. How much sleep do you get? And the other part, coming out of the 3 pillars of health, is do you have a hobby? What's your pastime? Do you do something that disconnects you from the do world and something that's more creative? Something that you don't have to be good at. It's just something you just enjoy doing. The next is just off time. Kind of like when we step back and we're learning about that caveman, and when he had off time, he was just cruising around. I mean, he was looking at the clouds in the sky, the trees around him. It's that time when we aren't doing everything and we're just taking some space just with ourselves, just like that walk with exercise. Just cruising around, nothing to do. Maybe we're sitting back in our lawn chair with our shades on, sipping our pina coladas or whatever we want to do. It's just taking that space. The other part is self-care. So self-care, getting any body work. What I found out is body work really helps relieve the nervous system. It's that whole theory about community, because we're a social creature, and just the power of touch will help calm the nervous system down. Because I was a military contractor, I work with veterans occasionally and doing body work on them. I do shiatsu body work. And just seeing the nervous system really calm down from doing a simple body work techniques on a person makes a dramatic effect of how the person relates to life. They come in grumpy and they leave happy with a smile, more relaxed. It's huge. It's a huge opportunity to put that self-care in effect and have a little body work. I'm Thomas Schieffer, clinical herbalist and shiatsu practitioner, and thank you for your time.